Welcome to Grand Prix Weekend, brought to you by Eurosport in association with Longines.
Sunny Estoril in Portugal for round 13 of the Formula One World Championship and Eurosport's coverage of the Portuguese Grand Prix. Well, we're all here, all that is apart from John Watson, and as he usually drives us in from the airport, we're all a lot more relaxed than we normally are at this time of the weekend. John is in fact in Canada, where he's competing for Toyota in a round of the World Sports Car Championship. But before he left, he gave us his thoughts on this race.
Well, in Estoril this weekend, everything's going to be focusing on two men, Ayrton Senna in his McLaren Honda, Alain Prost in his Ferrari, and of course these two men are the only ones with a chance of winning the championship in 1990. There are 16 points between them. We come from Monza, which is really a McLaren circuit, I consider. We're coming to Estoril, which I feel is slightly more Ferrari oriented, the nature of the circuit. But McLaren have worked very hard over the last 6 weeks. They've improved the car, particularly the aerodynamic side of the car, the high-speed handling. And that's going to be the key, in my opinion, to this race, because the corner that leads on to the pit straight, that very long, very fast, it ought to be flat out. It's probably on the limit in the race. Right-hand corner is where the difference in the two cars, I think, will show up. Can Ferrari produce enough speed, enough horsepower to maintain maybe an advantage they'll have in that corner? Can McLaren get enough back aerodynamically and get the downforce of the car working better so as they can use their horsepower to full effect there? For me, it's a fascinating race, but remember, there are other people in this race. There's Gerhard Berger still looking for his first victory in McLaren, and he won here last year. You've also got Nigel Mansell having the most awful season he's had for a long time, also looking to finish his Grand Prix career, let's say, with a high note. Benetton are strong. Williams, well, Monza was disappointing for them, as it was in fact for Benetton, but both cars can perform well on this kind of circuit. All in all, I think it's going to be a fascinating race, but of course the main focus is going to be on whether Prost can claw back some of that 16-point deficit he has currently, or is Ayrton Senna going to increase his lead by a further, let's say, 3 points if they finish 1-2 as they've been doing in the last two Grand Prix. A great prospect, I think, great racing prospect, and one that I'm going to, I hope, get to see, even though I'm going to be 5,000 miles away.
Thanks, John. Well, I hope the weather is as good for you in Canada as it is for us here in Portugal. Well, those of you who've been watching Eurosport's coverage of Formula One this season will know that we've spent quite a lot of time this year working out exactly what the women do in this sport. Well, this week we've turned our attention to Lindy Swainston, who has the unenviable task of sorting out most of the Formula One team's travel arrangements.
Lindy, you seem to have rather a lot of air tickets here. How many are there altogether?
About 700 here. I think, yes, around 700. It's 3 flights.
You're often one of the most sought-after people in the paddock, aren't you, really? Just explain, because you are the official tour guide, I suppose, almost of Grand Prix racing.
Probably sometimes I would say I'm one of the most unenvied people in the paddock. This morning when we arrived at Heathrow Airport and I was told there was a possible 3-hour delay on the flight, my first thought was to go and hide in the ladies' loo.
People wouldn't really blame you for that, would they?
In motor racing, people blame whoever is the nearest when there's a flight delay, and that's usually me.
You've been doing this for a number of years. Is it really enjoyable, or is it all hassle?
Because I love motor racing, it's very enjoyable, and it's a means of getting to a race.
Well, what about the problems of moving motor racing people around? Because they do change their plans a little bit from time to time.
They do change their plans a lot from time to time. In fact, we have an award every year for the team that makes the most changes to their itinerary, which we award every Christmas.
I trust Eurosport isn't going to win it this year.
Eurosport are high on the list, but there are 1 or 2 who are worse.
How many people would a team move around in a Grand Prix team? Because you cover most of them, don't you?
We cover all the British teams, and the numbers are getting more and more every year. Some teams have 30 to 40 personnel, with the actual team who travel in business class, in economy, and all the management in business class.
Because Bob Warren Travel sometimes charters complete aeroplanes, doesn't it?
For this race, we chartered 1 flight today from London to Lisbon, which had 220 people on it. On Monday, we're chartering a 2nd flight to take everyone down to Jerez, which has another 230 on it. So we're actually carrying a French team on that as well. And next Thursday for Jerez, we have another plane which will bring the people who went home out. Then back on Sunday night after Jerez, 2 complete aircraft, one to Luton and one to Heathrow, to take all the British people home.
And of course, sometimes people lose tickets or they lose their baggage. It's always your problem.
It's always my problem, and I think the worst thing is when they change their minds over the weekend, and I spend all my time looking for a telephone to phone back to the office to change their plans and get them new tickets, because nobody will ever believe it's not possible.
Well, those of you who've been paying any attention to the newspapers will know that quite a lot's been going on since the last Grand Prix. Here with the latest news from the pit lane is Andrew Marriott.
Thanks, Matt. Yes, the gossip shop has been in top gear since Monza, and much of the news has featured Sandro Nannini. It seems he agreed terms to join Ferrari on loan, but with his pen literally poised over the contract last week, he had second thoughts and decided to stay at Benetton Ford. So Ferrari redoubled their efforts to sign Jean Alesi. On Monday it was done, and Jean was absolutely delighted.
I feel very well because it was a very hard job. We found a solution with Ferrari, and now I'm very happy to have this contract for next year. But I still very concentrate on my drive with Tyrrell, because I have 4 races to finish, and I want to finish very well because I have the possibility to finish well.
Do you think all this contract negotiations affected your driving because you flew off the track at Monza, of course, when you were going so quickly?
No, absolutely not. In Monza, I did a mistake on myself, and it was nothing wrong in my head.
Ken Tyrrell gave you your first chance. Do you have any regrets leaving the team?
You know, if I have the same relationship with Ferrari compared here in Tyrrell, I will be very, very happy, because I had a very good time in Tyrrell team.
But we can't let Ken Tyrrell off the hook. This is what he told me in Hungary.
Yes, I'm sure that Jean Alesi will be driving for me next year. In the words of President Bush, watch my lips.
We did, Ken. Well, I reckon Ivan Capelli will take Alesi's place at Tyrrell next year. The other big talking point has been FISA's new technical regulations announced at Monza. Designers like Lotus technical director Frank Durney are less than impressed.
Well, I think that the timing's a bit unfortunate, and I don't, at initial look, see any of the proposals making the cars safer. I see that the cars will go slower, but I don't see that the cars are necessarily safer by going slower. They were slower 20 years ago and people were hurt. The thing that's made the cars safer in the last few years have been the structural regulations, and no additional structural proposals have been made. So certainly my opinion is that the cars will not be safer. If we take Derek's accident, for example, in Monza, if the car had been 40 kilos heavier, it would have skidded further upside down with more weight on, and there would have been much, much more likely to have caught fire. So there is no question in my mind it would be 100% in that particular accident more dangerous to have a heavier car. So that's one proposal which is absolutely wrong.
What about the time frame? Because they've only given you 6 months or so to design a completely new race car.
Yes, that's very difficult. I don't think people realise the extent to which some of the teams, particularly ones with big resources, spend years developing the things, and it certainly would be, I would say, impossible to have a well-researched and understood car within the time frame suggested.
So at the moment you're sort of poised over your drawing board, really not knowing what to do.
Yes, I suppose that's the case. I cannot see that it would be sensible to introduce those suggestions, any of them, and this is a personal point of view. It just is not sensible. It will not, in my opinion, have the desired result, and the magnitude of the effect is unknown by me, and therefore it is certainly unknown by anyone at FISA, because they do not know as much about it as those who make the cars.
Engines are still a talking point too. Renault announced on Thursday that from 1992 until 1995 they will supply Ligier, who already of course have Lamborghini V12s for next year. Meanwhile, the other big French team, Larousse, is still seeking an engine deal, as designer Gerhard Berger confirmed.
Well, the situation is a bit difficult for us right now. We are talking with several engine manufacturers. So far, nothing is already set up, and we hope by the end of the week or beginning of the next week we will know where we're going next year.
You must be very disappointed with Lamborghini pushing the price up like that, because you did all the hard development work.
Well, it's a bit of a bad surprise, yes, but now, I mean, they probably have their reason, which we don't understand very much, but what can we do? Nothing, and we have to try to carry on, and therefore we have to find the best solution for us next year, and maybe watching for a little longer future in 92 with something very good.
Also this week, Yamaha issued the first picture of their new 60-valve V12 engine destined for Brabham. And it seems that the Japanese motorcycle manufacturer has also invested substantial funds into the team. And just to round up the engine news, Bruno Giacomelli had a Judd engine to power the Life this week instead of the usual W12. After an all-nighter fitting the engine, the team were hampered by electrical problems.
So that's the latest news from pit lane and paddock. Now, motor racing attracts a wide body of supporters who are more famous in other fields. Among them, pop singer Leo Sayer, who I caught up with a couple of weeks ago. I asked him what he found so attractive about this sport.
Ah, the smell, the grease paint, you know. It's, I don't know, it's something that gets in your bloodstream, I suppose. I was a mad fan with my father of Stirling Moss, Graham Hill and people like that, and then I elevated to Jochen Rindt and people like that, and I've just stayed with it ever since. I was very fortunate a good few years back to have bumped into Bernie Ecclestone, who kindly gave me a pass to go to a race, and I've been here ever since.
We're sitting here in the luxury of the Brabham motorhome. Would it be fair to say that they're your favourite team?
Yes, it's very comfortable here. It's a nice awning. It's it's very hard for me now to play favourites because I know so many people involved in this, from mechanics to sponsors to team managers to drivers, and people often ask me my favourites, and it's very hard. I have to be very diplomatic, but it started with Brabham. It started with Herbie Blash and Gordon Murray and Bernie Ecclestone. And so I suppose it must continue with Brabham. I mean, this is a good home, you know, for me.
What do you think of the team's chances? Maybe not for the rest of this season, but next year.
These are tough times for Brabham, but I think that it's something that the expertise of the team has enough qualities to overcome. And next year, of course, we have a very good engine. We have the Yamaha engine, which is going to be very, very good so far as testing is proving from Japan. The times are tough, and you just have to start and rebuild. I've just done it with my own career.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because there are big changes afoot, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, I got a situation where all my sponsors left me. I was down to nothing. My record company disappeared, and I had to start again myself. But, you know, if you've got courage and if you've got a bit of bottle and a bit of determination, you can overcome these things, you know, and that's what you have to do. And I'm just happy that now my career's back. You know, it's nice for me to come to Formula One because I don't have the questions I had before where everybody's saying, what the hell are you doing? You're still making records, Leo? Now they know I am, so at least I'm back in business, so that's good.
Do you ever think of switching businesses? Because you've got the same build as Alain Prost and pretty much the same haircut.
I tried to drive a Formula One car once. I drove John Watson's McLaren. He's standing in the background. He's putting me off now. I drove John Watson's McLaren around Silverstone, and I have the steering wheel on the wall. They do say they're going to send me the gears soon, but there's nothing left. They're just these perfectly cylindrical round rings because I ground them all to pieces. But it was an incredible experience. But it kind of teaches you that this is a job for supermen. It really is a job for supermen. There's no way that a layman like me can hope to do it. It sorts out the men from the boys, you know.
Welcome back to sunny Portugal and the racetrack here at Estoril. Details now of pre-qualifying. Fastest was Olivier Griard in the Osella, second Yannick Dalmas in the AGS. Bertrand Gachot was third in the Coloni, and fourth Gabriele Tarquini in the other AGS. Unlucky this time, Roberto Moreno and Claudio Langes of the Eurobrun team. And the Life, well, it didn't even manage a lap. Before we join Andrew Marriott and Peter Collins for highlights of the first qualifying session, let's quickly run through the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship standings. Leading the Drivers' table, Ayrton Senna from McLaren with 72 points. Second, Alain Prost with 56 for Ferrari. McLaren's Gerhard Berger is third with 37 points, and Thierry Boutsen is fourth for Williams with 27. Nelson Piquet fifth for Benetton with 24. In sixth position, Riccardo Patrese for Williams with 17. Two drivers share seventh position, Alessandro Nannini for Benetton and Nigel Mansell in the other Ferrari. Both have 16 points. In ninth place, Jean Alesi for Tyrrell with 13. In 10th, Ivan Capelli of Leighton House. 11th, Eric Bernard of LaRousse Lamborghini. In 12th, it's Derek Warwick of Lotus Lamborghini. Three drivers in 13th position, Stefano Modena of Brabham, Alex Caffey of Arrows and Satoru Nakajima for Tyrrell. And in 16th place, two drivers share the spot, Aguri Suzuki for LaRousse and Mauricio Gugelmin for Leighton House. In the constructors' table, McLaren Honda lead the way with 109 points, way ahead of Ferrari in second with 72. Third are Williams Renault with 44, fourth Benetton Ford with 40, and fifth Tyrrell Ford with 15. In sixth place it's Leighton House Judd with 7. Seventh are LaRousse Lamborghini with 6, and eighth Lotus Lamborghini with 3. Two teams share ninth spot, Arrows Ford and Brabham Judd, each with 2 points.
Yes, qualifying already underway on the 2.703 mile circuit here at Estoril. And with me to describe the action, Peter Collins, making a return to Eurosport after a year. Peter, of course, a former Benetton, Lotus and Williams team manager, so a real expert with the background information that I'm sure is going to help us. Peter, Ayrton Senna out on a quick run.
Yes, Andrew, very forced effort by Ayrton at this stage. He looks as though he's pushing the car quite hard. Very different to the style we saw at Monza, but undoubtedly still very quick.
Yeah, well, Senna, of course, shooting for that 50th pole position. This is his first run. I think most Eurosport viewers know by now that they have 2 sets of qualifying tyres, and the morning sessions looking as if it's very much McLaren versus Ferrari here. Prost versus Senna, and then, of course, Mansell versus Berger. Gerhard Berger won this race last year when, of course, he was driving for Ferrari. And now we've got Martini in the way, and is it going to hold up Senna? Yes, Senna nips by, no problem at all there. So he wasn't held up at all, and it's looking like a quick one. As Peter say, quite a forced lap. And crosses the line now. And yes, he goes fast. It's 1 minute 14.577, well under last year's pole position time. And so Sandro Nannini, who was provisionally on the pole, is bumped down the field. Peter, well, Senna really working hard at it there.
Yes, it looks at the moment as though the McLaren setup isn't ideally suited to Estoril, and Ayrton is having to work very hard there with the front of the car. The front just doesn't want to stay in tight in the corner, and obviously that makes it very difficult to place the car.
Yes, news coming through also that Berger, who was running in Senna's wheel tracks, did a 1:15.058, goes second. And can Nigel Mansell split those McLarens? Currently on the front row of the grid. There is Nigel. And Senna's in the way, and he's not happy. Look, waving his fist. What was that all about, Peter?
Well, in a corner such as the corner onto the pit straight here at Estoril, it only takes a minor hesitation to cost you a lot of time, and obviously Nigel wasn't sure what Ayrton was doing at that stage of the corner, and I think it did affect his lap.
Yes, looking at the monitor, 1:15.182. Nigel Mansell goes third. Waiting in the pits, currently fifth on the timing sheet, Riccardo Patrese. And the Williams team just getting ready to send him out, but Prost out now for his first run, the 87 and 88 winner. And can he improve on Senna's time? Yeah, there's the Ferrari. Gorgeous sound of the 12-cylinder engine drilling its way around the Estoril track and throwing up the odd sparks. And it really is the normal smooth Prost as he just nipped past the Camel Lotus there. What a master he is, Peter.
Yes, and Prost certainly makes full use of the handling capabilities of the Ferrari, and from the laps we've seen from Prost and Mansell so far today, it appears at this stage that the Ferrari is certainly more suited to this circuit. It is a very challenging circuit, and it's a very difficult circuit in which to place the car. And if you have a problem with the front end, as does Senna at the moment, it certainly costs you in lap time. But Prost looking very good at this stage, a nice neat lap.
Yeah, Prost continuing on his way. As Peter said, a very challenging circuit here at Estoril. Sadly doesn't seem to attract very big crowds. Perhaps that's the situation with the money down here. People can't really afford to come to what is a very expensive sporting event to attend. And Prost across the start-finish line, the time coming. Prost goes fastest. Prost 1 minute 14.530. Prost is on the pole. He has pushed Senna back, and Mansell is back to 4th place. Well, this is Satoru Nakajima, and he's going off. Yes, seemed to be put offline by Alex Caffey there. Little trip through the grass, but no damage done. And he accelerates away, but that will certainly damage his chances of a quick lap. Well, there's Nigel Mansell. This is his second run. He's just coming to the end of it. Can he get on the front row of the grid? 1 minute 14.861. A bit of a disappointment there. Moves up to 3rd, but Nigel Mansell not on the front row of the grid. So Mansell done his 2 runs. There's Senna. He's still got a set of tyres left. Looking at the timing screen, no doubt, thinking about that problem and wondering how he's going to drive round it. Meanwhile, his teammate, Gerhard Berger, last year's winner, remember, he's out there. Can he improve? What about pole for Gerhard? A little bit of traffic. And Gerhard looking a little bit ragged there, Peter.
Yes, this is a very typical Gerhard Berger looking lap. Plenty of action, car moving around a lot and kicking up dust as he exits the corner. But having said that, still a very effective lap normally from Gerhard. He's been right on the pace in qualifying with Ayrton in recent races, and whether that can be translated into race pace is another thing.
Yes, Gerhard definitely trying very hard indeed. And hot work today, temperatures up around the 80s. We're just a little inland from the coastal resort of Estoril as he comes up to complete that lap. And again the car twitching. And quite a lot of elevation change here at Estoril. So the driver's plunging down. It's basically on the side of a mountain, I suppose you could say, or a hill at least. And Gerhard completing that lap. Is he going to make it onto the front row of the grid? Just looking at the time, it's coming up 1 minute 14.552. Berger goes second, and Prost, he crosses the line, but he hasn't improved. Now, what's Ayrton Senna got up his sleeve? Senna on his second run and leaving it very late indeed. Very audacious, this, only 2 minutes to go, and only just about to make it. Goes on to his flying lap, and Peter, take us through it.
Yes, I think we're going to see a lot of fireworks in this lap from Ayrton. He's obviously only got a few minutes left to go, likes to be on the overnight pole, and I'm sure he's going to be pushing the car very hard. Ayrton's style, when the car isn't right and when the front of the car isn't coming away, in fact, if you saw a very good example there, pushing the car hard, front tyres finally grabbed and the rear came out in a big slide. That will undoubtedly have cost Ayrton a little bit of time, but I'm sure he won't give up on it because of that, and still committed to the lap. You can always tell when Ayrton's working hard with the car when it's not right, because he's on and off the throttle in very much a staccato performance, and it's quite an exhilarating thing to see. But still into the lap, still working hard, and I'm sure he won't have given up just yet.
No, pushing hard. Just about a minute of this qualifying session left, so if he does stick it in the pole, there is no chance of anybody going better, although the 3 main rivals have already used up their qualifying tyres. And neither the Benettons nor the Williams really looking a challenge here as he goes up on the curb, across the starting grid, crosses the line. He's done it, 1 minute 14.246. He's on the pole, he's not going to be knocked off that position, and provisionally at least his 50th pole position, an all-time record. Now let's look at that lineup of times. Ayrton Senna, as we said, 14.246. Alongside him, Alain Prost, 1:14.530. On row 2, Gerhard Berger, with the second of the McLaren Hondas, 1:14.552. And Nigel Mansell, 4th, 1:14.861. The big 4, the only 4 in the 14s. Now Patrese 5th, 1:15.539. Piquet 6th, 1:15.542. and Boutsen in 7th spot, 15.646. 8th spot, trying really hard, Jean Alesi 1.16.092, Nannini 9th, 16.123, and Eric Bernard, good performance there, 16.477 in the La Rousse Lamborghini. Then it's Martini, Nakajima, Suzuki, De Cesaris. 15th spot, Philip Alliot. Then very disappointing, Martin Donnelly, 16th in the Lotus Lamborghini, ahead of a very ill Mauricio Gugelmin. He says he's going off to bed as soon as the practice session is over. 18th, Emanuele Pirro. 19th, Derek Warwick. Really well down, Derek. In 20th spot, Stefano Modena. 21st, Capelli. 22nd, Briard. 23rd spot, Yannick Dalmas. He's in again. 24th, Alboreto. 25th, it's Paolo Barilla. And in 26th spot, Alex Caffey. So far not in, Nicola Arini. David Brabham, who's shaking down a brand new car. 29th, Tarquini. And at the bottom of the list, Bertrand Gachot. Well, there's Senna. A bit of a sweat on his brow, but a good day's work. Always the perfectionist, so not really happy with the car, worried about the understeer, and hoping to go much quicker tomorrow. But he is on the pole, but of course, Alain Prost always ready to pounce. The top 2 contenders in the World Championship on the front row of the grid.
Well, that just about wraps up Eurosport's coverage of day 1 of the Portuguese Grand Prix. But before we go, I'd like to introduce a new face on our commentary team, Peter Collins. Peter, welcome along. What do you think of that session? Do you think there's any chance of anybody catching Ayrton Senna?
I certainly do, judging by the 2 laps that we saw, of Senna and Prost laps in particular. Senna's qualifying lap was a very frantic lap, a lot of throttle applications through the corners, very different to what was a very artistic lap at Monza. And I think you'll see the Ferraris far more competitive in race trim than the McLaren, so I think we are in for a good race.
I hope so. Well, lots more from you tomorrow, Peter, when you'll be joining Andrew Marriott for live commentary on the 2nd qualifying session. That starts at 1300 in the UK, 1400 Central European time. And of course, we'll have day 2 of our coverage of the Portuguese Grand Prix in the evening, 21:30 in the UK, 22:30 in Europe. See you then.